Top going with my list of.
Hello, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well on this Wednesday evening or whenever you're watching. If you're watching live, it's Wednesday evening, Wednesday morning. It's Wednesday something, somewhere, somehow, someplace. We have our good friend Kurt Bergland, a friend
Hello, everybody.
to one and all, especially to our gaming community, sports sim gaming community. Pine Tar Baseball, and we're going to discuss Great Teams set number 2 that Kurt Bergland is putting out. It's out now for sale, and I provided the information on the page and in the chat of your email, Kurt. But before we get to that, Kurt Bergland, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, Al. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm A-okay. We have thunderstorms, artillery blasts coming in, but if we lose stream, that's why.
I was driving back from Chicago, and we were in rain pretty much. I guess it was around the Wisconsin state line. It just poured from there all the way home. So we're getting rain too. I don't know. I know that parts of the country need it more than we do, but
I don't want to hear anything about a drought anymore in this area. That's all. I think I have to go back to building the ark that I was building last week.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, this set is the second volume of called Great Teams of the 20th Century. And the rules for the Great Teams of the 20th Century are that you have to have at least one great team from every decade. And so I did that for the first set, and there were so many obvious teams left over that I didn't create for that set that there wasn't room to fit in there. And it also, I used to coach high school sports, and when I did that, I was always amazed that there would be like this cluster of people, either guys or girls, and they would be obviously making the team. And then there'd be this separation, and then you'd have everybody else. And so when I use the word great team, I'm thinking in my head about teams that are like at least a step above even the very good. And there's like a cluster of them. And I didn't feel like I got them all
in that first set. Yep.
And there were obvious ones that people were still asking for, which made total sense. And I wasn't planning on doing a second volume of this year, but it just kind of bugged me to the point where I thought, well, I've still got notes left over from some of the ones that I didn't put in the set. And so let's just do a second volume. And so I did. And then it became a different problem. And the problem not then was, well, after you get those obvious ones in there, now you've got this second group of greatness. And how do you sort of differentiate between who gets in and who doesn't from that group? And still create a set that people are going to want to buy. So did that. I think there's a few that I think you could quibble over, but I'm pretty happy with the group that's here. And
we're gonna bring up the page that shows everything in a little bit, and as you start to go through. That must have been tough to make the cuts for the teams. I couldn't do it.
Well, the first thing that's really nice is that I got to get something from every decade. So that you don't have carte blanche to begin with. And so like with the 90s, I knew I hadn't done a Blue Jay team, and I knew there was kind of an obvious omission.
Oh, yeah.
And so like they're obviously you just kind of plug it in and go.
Kurt, would you like me to bring up the I was just thinking, should I bring up the sheet now?
Sure.
Okay. We'll do a quick screen share. And again, thank you very much to Kurt Bergland for making these wonderful sets. And thank you to James Formo for Pine Tar Baseball. Link provided for Life is Sports to see some other sets for Pine Tar Baseball. And for certain sets, you can email Kurt, the Great Team Sets 1 and 2 and 1972 also. Is that correct, Kurt?
Right. And I also earlier this year released a Negro Leagues franchise all-star set.
That's right.
And that's available too. So there's 4 now that you get through me. Everything else is on the website. And a PDF of the game instructions is on the website too, or you can just email me for it and I can send that out to you as well. So
and there's also you have those free players where you can actually download and try the game out for free from the website, from the
So when you do that, or if you'd rather have Negro Leaguers for free, there's a bunch of those available on the Facebook page or from me for free as well. So just kind of whatever you want to try for free, you can do that. So, yep.
Absolutely. And it's a very fun game. I play it on my channel. I recommend it. I do enjoy it. It's an easy, quick learn. I love the pitching grades. And we're going to Kurt's going to go through the teams. We have a list here of the teams. And I just have to say something. I've also in the chat and on the page provided Kurt Bergland's YouTube channel. I highly recommend subscribing to that. And the Bob Gibson card is insane. I can't wait to play that one.
Well, that was an interesting thing too. I was reading about the 68 team.
You imagine 1.21 ERA and he somehow lost 9 games. Talk about lack of run support.
Yeah, I was watching. What was I watching? I was watching something on YouTube where he was in the press box talking to somebody during a game. And they said, you had a 1.12 ERA. How did you lose 9 games? And then they brought up the 1-run losses he had. And he goes, yeah, I'm still mad about that.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like 2000. I want to say it was like 2005 or something. So the guy's still steaming about 1968. It's funny. But the amazing thing is, and I'm going to forget the number now, but I think in Gibson's starts, Red Shadians only took him out twice before the end of the game.
Is incredible in 68.
So he plowed through extra innings, and I wanted to somehow capture that. So
highly recommend checking out the demo game between the Cardinals, the 68 Cardinals, and the
95 Mariners. Yeah.
Yes. Randy Johnson against Bob Gibson.
Yeah,
don't call him Gibby if you meet him because he'll probably punch you.
So yeah, it was. He's that season breaks a lot of sims, and I just wanted to do something that captured his season, but also would make it really, really difficult for a Pine Tar manager to take him out of the game. And so I think
I'd be afraid to take the card out of the game for fear of the card jumping up and smacking me.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be fun to see how they do. It's not a team that's going to score a lot of runs, but they may not have to. So it's working out. I think it's working out well. It was an interesting game against the 95 Mariners, who can score. They could hit, and so it was interesting to see how he did.
Good stuff. The last thing, and then we'll go through the list. I'll let you go through the list. About the Cardinals of 68. That is one of the worst offensive teams to go to a World Series, in my opinion. I I think the 66 Dodgers were a better offensive team than the 68 Cardinals. That's because I've played a lot of Bob Gibson. I had a project with a different game on my channel, and then when my computer went, I lost it. But it was the 68 McLean and 68 Gibson against, I think it was 2016 playoff teams. And I just, they started against their best starters. And Gibson had a pretty good ERA. I think it was just over 2. Again, it's a game and the better offenses than 2016, supposedly. Yeah, I couldn't score. And I played as the Cardinals and the Tigers. It was just really tough to score runs with the Cardinals. If you didn't get runs, I mean, Maris, I believe that's his last year in 68.
Right. Yeah.
And he's pretty much not a good offensive player anymore. He's okay, but yeah, that's a tough but that card is beast mode in your game. Beast mode, Gibson.
Well, yeah, and I really struggled with that. We talked about this. I wanted to get, because I thought they deserved to be a Cardinal team from the 60s in the set, but it's really hard to choose one. And I think everyone kind of defaults to 64, but
because they won.
Right. But I'm not sure that 64 team was actually better than 67 or 68. And 68 isn't done a lot in these types of sets. A lot of sims pick 67 or 64. And so I wanted to give it a shot, and I think it's going to be it's an interesting mix of teams. And so if people run a tournament, it's going to be interesting to see how they do, because they're kind of loaded on the mound. Well, 68, of course, was the year of the pitcher, but they're loaded on the mound, and so it's going to be difficult to score. If they can get 2 or 3 runs,
they're going to be tough to beat.
Yeah.
Because their bullpen was pretty good too when it wasn't Gibby pitching.
Absolutely.
The other real cool thing is, I'm just going to scroll up just a little bit here. I love. And then I'm going to let you go through the set, and I'll ask you some questions that pop into my head. I love this American League Rookie of the Year and National League Rookie of the Year teams. I call them teams. They're not. But you get a lot of Rookies of the Year that you can make teams with or supplement them in. You could throw them on one of these teams if you wanted. You could throw them on the great teams, not great teams, great players sets. A lot of fun. So I'm really looking forward when I get mine set to the American League Rookies of the Year and National League Rookies of the Year. A lot of great players there and some one-hit wonders too. So go Joe Charbonneau.
Yeah, that idea for that came to me one morning while I was shaving, and I don't really know. I was thinking about some of the players that hadn't been carded in Pine Tar yet. And I want to obviously eventually get to as many seasons as I can. But in the meantime, wanted to try and honor some of the interesting rookie seasons. And I didn't think many other sims had done it. And I thought this would be an interesting subset to put
Great concept.
The great teams of the 20th century. And so these are, now the Rookie of the Year, of course, has only existed since 47. And I think it was 49 that they split it into 2 or 50.
Both leagues.
Both leagues. There were a couple of years there at the start where they didn't. And so from 47 to the present, I tried to make like all-star teams of players that were the most, either the best, clearly, or just interesting players having an interesting season. And then you're right. I mean, everybody's free to do these what you will. You can supplement the teams. You can keep these in all-star teams if you want. They also have the same color scheme for both leagues. Now, I indicate the year of the rookie that wins, the year that rookie won the Rookie of the Year. but the color scheme is the same. So if you want to merge the American and National League rookies into one super team, you could do that too, and they'll look like they belong together. So there are 11 pitchers per league. There are at least 3 catchers per league, and there are at least 2 position players per other position per league. In most cases, there's 3 guys that could play that position. There are some of these players like,
now is Johnny Bench carded at like third and catcher or first and catcher?
No, he didn't play third in his rookie year.
Oh, I got you. Yep. So I understand.
But like Posey did. Posey played first and catcher. Tony Kubek, I think, played 4 positions. Tom Tresh played 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So there's guys like that too, where you can kind of, and there's positions that maybe aren't as impressive when you first look at it. National League shortstops, there's Rafael Furcal and Alvin Dark, and you think, well, but if you look at the seasons they had, they were both pretty good. And
that's why they were rookies of the year.
American League third base is the same way with Eric Hinsky and Evan Longoria. You think, well, but if you look at their stats, they had some blowout seasons. And so you learn something, too, about maybe some players that you're not that familiar with. So 11 pitchers per league, and I fit 31 American Leaguers in and 30 National Leaguers. So there's plenty for an all-star game if you want to do that, a season, a tournament. Use them in other teams. You can do a lot of different stuff with them, but they're a lot of fun, and it's something different. So there's 23 regular teams in the set, and then there are these 2 subset teams, so there's 25 total in the set.
It's a brilliant set, and we're going to get to it in a moment. I just want to say hello to some people who are live in the chat. I'd like to say hello to Richard Butler, as he says, 2 great guys. Looking forward to this chat. It's going to be a lot of fun, Richard. Glad you're here. Bears Den 007. As he says, what about the 1906 White Sox? You get the 1919 White Sox, even better.
Yeah, you know what? The 1906 White Sox were about team number 27 or 8. I had a list, and I drew a line where my printer run wouldn't either A, throw off the postage, or B, raise the price so much because the price of paper.
There's a formula behind the number of teams and things like that, make it feasible for you to create and get it out.
Those hitless wonder White Sox almost made the cut. Very, very close. Very close. I would look for them in a future set for sure.
We have C&D TV, our good friend Tony Porter. And we have Bruins fan also joining us. So feel free, if you're watching, jump in the chat with questions. Now, Kurt, I'll turn it over to you. And the first team on the list, 1904 Giants. Tell us a little something about the 1904 Giants.
Well, the John McGraw's Giants would have made the first volume of Great Teams of the 20th Century, except they weren't really good in October. And so while he was a great manager and they had great teams, I really was trying to focus on as much World Series success as I could get. And then when this set came clear that it needed to be made, the question was, okay, well, which John McGraw team now am I going to do? And I landed on this one. They were 106-47.
And 5 ties. And did they actually have 5 ties?
Yeah. Well, it's
because
darkness.
Nighttime, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they were dominant for their time. Now, of course, at this time period, John McGraw was stealing players left and right. But that's how the game was played. So you can't really
He's playing by the rules of the day, right?
right. So all's fair in love and war, and so
And baseball.
And baseball, and so this is a Christy Mathewson team, Joe McGinnity team, and it's heavy on pitching, but they will hit and they will run the bases as well. So this is not. It's not like the '06 White Sox, where if they don't do it with pitching, it's not going to get done. They
have some offense.
Runs. They are going to score runs. It's just going to be like Whitey Herzog offense. It's not going to be Bronx Bombers offense. The next team is the '07 Cubs.
Yep.
I picked '07 over '06 because their pitching numbers I thought were a little bit better, and they won the World Series. This might be the best pitching team in the history of baseball. That's what gets them the notoriety. They also won over 100 games, and they beat a good, near great Ty Cobb Tiger team. So then there's the 1909 Tigers, who lost to the Pirates in the World Series, but this was probably Ty Cobb's best team. Sam Crawford was very, very good on this team too. They've got some pitchers that you may not have heard of, but are also excellent. Were excellent. A lot of speed and a lot of doubles and triples power, which I still think of as power.
It is.
So, yeah, it's a really good team and more balanced than the '07 Cubs. I'm not sure they're better, but they're more balanced, and will definitely score some runs for sure. Ty Cobb, interestingly, hit cleanup on this team, and I don't often think of him as a cleanup hitter, but it makes sense if you think about it. So that was interesting when I read about all these teams before I started to card them, and that was one of the really interesting pieces about the '09 Tigers.
Well, yeah, I'm in the. I think it was Tommy Herr. I think he knocked in almost 100 runs for the Cardinals one year, if not 100. He was not a home run hitter, but he was a good clutch hitter, and he was a decent. I think that, especially that year, I think he batted third.
Yeah, I think he was 85. Yeah, he did, and
he was a doubles hitter. Everyone thinks that you have, and again, we'll get back to obviously these great teams. To me, Kurt, my best hitter is going to hit third in my lineup because this is my, okay, for the Red Sox, when Ortiz was there, I would have had him batting third because I want him to be up in that first inning. I want him to make sure he has one more extra at bat than everybody else. You know, the top three hitters will usually always get one more at bat than as you start to go down the lineup. I never understood, and I still to this day don't understand when they put their best hitter fourth or their best guy who knocks in runs. And to me, if you knock in runs, you're my best hitter because RBIs win games. If you don't knock runs in, you can't win. I don't care about the other stats. I understand them, but you must knock runs in. So I could see Ty Cobb hitting third or fourth. I mean, in my lineup, in that probably without knowing a tremendous amount about that team, Cobb would hit third to me in that lineup. That's just me.
Yeah, it's all, you learn so much about the managers from the choices they make and the lineups they create. It's really interesting. So the next team is this 1916 Red Sox. I wanted Babe Ruth in the set, and I wanted a Babe Ruth card that would be different, not something that everybody had seen and had before in every other sim. And in 19, he was a great pitcher in 15, but in 16, he was the ace of the staff and was a good hitter, not the hitter he would become, but was a very, very good hitter as well. And his team won the World Series. So all of that kind of combined to make the 16 Red Sox, the Red Sox team from the dead ball era that I chose. And that brings us to the toughest decision, I think, about eras, and that is the 1919 White Sox, because they didn't win the World Series. The 17 team did, with largely the same cast. The 20 team was probably better.
And they all got suspended near the year end, correct?
Right, and they were going to win, but then they got suspended. So I went with 1919, but it's a great team. It is a little bit thinner on pitching than the other two seasons, both 17 and 20, but they're going to score runs. And, if you look at the 5 dead ball teams in the set collectively, I could see them winning. It just depends upon, I guess, how the dice roll, but I could definitely see them winning out of those 5. Some kind of a mini tournament, and especially if you combine it with the teams from the first volume, like the Pirates from 02, and the Athletics from 11. There's certainly the potential there for them to do it. Although every time I roll with that team in other sims, they don't seem to play very well for me. But on paper, they look good.
I'm looking forward to another team. I'm looking forward to the 1919 White Sox because it's the circus effect for me. They're the 1919 Black Sox, and I have to agree with you. I've played them in other sims, whether on PC or card and dice, and they do not fare thee well. They're competitive, but they don't win against other great teams. But that's going to be a fun set just for the history of that team. I mean, that this team is going to be a fun team in this set for me, because I'm always like the boxing promoter. I want King Kong versus Godzilla. What's putting fannies in the seats? I can honestly say I believe the 1919 White Sox put fannies in the seats. So that's a fun team.
I think so too, for sure. People know them. People know the story. There's a lot to it. So the next team is the only team from the 20s. It's the 1925 Pirates. This is an interesting team. They won the World Series, but it's an interesting team to me because they were so incredibly dysfunctional. There was a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that people actually took to their graves without talking about.
Wow.
The next season, things kind of got worse. And in 27, of course, it was the Pirates that lost
to the Yankees.
And one of the reasons that it didn't go well for the Pirates, some people say, is because Kai Kyler was not used in the series. He was benched actually considerably before the series. And it's not clear why, but McKechnie just didn't like him. And but he should have been in the lineup if you go on talent. So there's a lot of there were like people sitting on the bench that didn't belong there. It was just weird, like almost like 77 Yankees stuff or 70s Yankees stuff with Steinbrenner, and just weird. And so they're a very compelling story. They've got some players that, everybody knows. Pie Trainer might be the biggest name, but there's other folks on the team as well, and like Kyler. But just a very interesting team. They won 95 games and they won the World Series. So a very, very good team. And the story was so interesting, I was just drawn to them.
That's awesome.
Then we get into the 30s, and there's 2 teams in the 30s. The 34 Cardinals, the Gas House Gang.
Yep.
And the 35 Tigers, who lost in 34 to the Cardinals in the World Series in 7, and then won the World Series in 35 over the Cubs pretty easily. And This is a Hank Greenberg, Mickey Cochran
Yep.
team,
Hank
and
Greenberg,
so
tremendous player.
it kind of fits in as one of those iconic teams of that era. So from the 40s, the only team from the 40s in this set is the Indians. Recent book about them being the first championship team that was integrated.
Yep.
Lou Boudreau, player manager, 97 wins, won the pennant over the Red Sox.
One game playoff.
Yeah, in Fenway.
Yes.
And then beat the Braves in an interesting World Series too. But definitely,
because that would have been an all
teams that's a cut above. This is
that would have been an all Boston World Series.
Yeah, wouldn't that have been interesting?
Yeah. And in 48 for the Boston Braves, just to get off track slightly, they have that a writer wrote a limerick, a rhyme, a song that turned into a short rhyme. It was Spawn Insane and Pray for Rain, because those were the only two good pitchers, I guess, that the Braves had, and they pitched them overtime.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they really did. But this is a team that, if you're making a list of the top 20 of all time, probably fits in with most people's lists. So definitely belongs in the set. Then comes the 50s.
Whiz Kids.
The Whiz Kids are not probably on merit one of the elite teams in baseball history, but they're very, very popular ball club. They've got a lot of players people recognize. Robin Roberts, Richie Ashburn, Jim Constanti, Kurt Simmons. And they're an interesting Pine Tar team because their lineup is one that is, I think it's going to score runs. Their top 6 players, top 7 in the batting order, are pretty solid. And the thing that kind of got them in real life was that some of the pitchers were not healthy at the end of the season, and then 2 got called for active duty in the military, and so they missed the World Series for that. So made it difficult, but not clear that they would have been very competitive against the Yankees anyway, but they weren't at their best. The next team is from the 50s is the 53 Yankees, which seems to be on a very short list of Casey Stengel's best teams from most observers. They beat maybe the best Brooklyn Dodger team, the 53 Dodgers, for the World Series title. And it's Mantle, Berra, Ford, Billy Martin, Phil Rizzuto, all those guys. Very, very good team. Might be the best offensive team in the set. Next is the 57 Braves, World Series champs over the Yankees. Came back from being down 3-1. Hank Aaron, Eddie Matthews, Warren Spahn, Lou Burdette. Another team that seems to make everybody's list of the top 20 for sure, and many people's top 10. Kind of a glaring omission from the first volume, so I wanted to make sure they were in this one. Then we get into the 60s. 3 teams from the 60s. The 61 Reds lost, of course, to the Yankees in 5 in the World Series.
Yep.
But great players. Frank Robinson, probably their best known, but Beta Pinson was pretty incredible in 61. And they had some pitchers too. O'Toole, Jay, Jim Brosnan, and Bill Henry in the bullpen. It looks to me like a team that would have been okay in like 70s or 80s baseball in terms of like athleticism and ability to play defense and depth. So this team is one of those sleeper teams, I think, that might do real well in a tournament with this set as well. The next team is the 62 Giants.
Love this team.
They lost, yeah, to the
line out. What was it? Line out to Richardson.
Yeah, from McCovey to Richardson, and McCovey wasn't even really a full timer. Well,
no, because
full-timer.
Because he played left field and first base. They had Cepeda at first, and was it Keene in left? Who was a good hitter.
Yeah, they had Keene in left, who was a very good hitter,
and that's why they must have ended up trading Cepeda later on to make him to work McCovey. I mean, that makes sense,
right?
No DH, so.
And they thought they were getting a really good pitcher, but that didn't really work. Well, I
no,
mean,
it didn't.
Sadecki was good, but not great. And 103 wins for the 62 Giants. Of course, they had the playoff series against the Dodgers to go to the World Series.
And that was a best of 3, right?
Yeah. And that was an interesting series, too. There's a lot of stuff going on there. But they were not favored to win that series, and they did it anyway. This is a Juan Marichal, Willie Mays, Orlando Cepeda, Willie McCovey team. Definitely will score runs. Not a great bullpen, but they're going to beat your brains out, so it may not matter. And the third team from the 60s is the 68 Cardinals. And
this alone, the Bob Gibson card alone is worth the price of admission, whether PDF, and a PDF is $12.99 for these fabulous teams. And then, of course, you can get the cards and then mailed to you. But I mean, you can't go wrong no matter what with either set. But the PDF is $12.99, folks. And there are so many great players in this set to go along with great teams number 1. And is that also $12.99?
It is, yeah. And they pair up really well. If you get them both, the possibilities for tournaments there are really, or seasons are really kind of mind-blowing.
And there's some World Series matchups you can do. The 68 Tigers in the first set. Now you'll have the 68 Cardinals. 61 Yankees, 61 Reds now. And I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple others, but
yeah, I'm looking here. I'm not.
Those two jump out at me because I saw them immediately. Yeah, tremendous set.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities here, but this 68 Cardinals team, I struggled with a little bit because I didn't know which Cardinal team from the 60s to pick, and this one seems to be one that doesn't make a lot of these sets, but certainly has a lot of star power. Brock, Flood, Gibson, Cepeda, McCarver, names people know.
A young Carlton.
Yeah, and Roger Maris at the end.
Yep.
So it's a good team. It's an interesting team from the year of the pitcher. So you're going to work to score runs, but it's an interesting club. So that closes out the 60s, and now we get into maybe the three dynasty teams of the 70s were the A's, and I got the 72 A's in the set. They were World Series champs. Reggie Jackson, Raleigh Fingers, Jim Hunter, Vita Blue.
72 the year Jackson gets hurt?
Yes.
Okay.
They try a squeeze during the ALCS, and he pulls his hamstring badly enough where he was on crutches for the World Series. So
Gene Tennis was the MVP, I think, in that World Series.
He was, yeah. He didn't even become the full-time catcher, I think, until I want to say August. He got the job from Duncan, and then Dick Williams just stuck with him, and he ended up being the MVP. So interesting team, kind of a loaded team. It's a Charlie Finley team in the sense that he was wheeling and dealing for veterans for the bench, and so you see a bunch of them on here, guys that were great in the 60s, like Joel Horlin and Matty Alou.
From the Cardinals, right?
Yeah, from the White Sox. And Alou was from the Cardinals, yeah. Okay. And Bob Locker, who had bigger years in the 60s, but was part of a just loaded bullpen. They had some injuries to overcome too. There's number 2 man in the bullpen, Darrell Knowles, was hurt with a broken wrist, and that was a big loss for them. Reggie was hurt, and Dick Green was gone for most of the year with back surgery, which I can't even imagine what that would have been like in 1972 to have your back operated on. But regardless,
put this piece of wood in your mouth, bite down.
Just about. So it's the 72 A's, and then it's the 76 Reds. 75 Reds are in volume 1, but it just didn't feel like I had finished with Sparky yet. And I thought about 70 for a while, but 76 is such a big deal, and they swept their way through the playoffs, and it has the big 8 on here, and Gullett and Nolan and the pitching staff. And so the third sort of dynastic team of the 70s is the 77 Yankees, and that's Billy Martin's World Series team over the Dodgers, and that's, Reggie with the 3 home runs. So the fourth team from the 70s is the Red Sox, the 78 Red Sox, which is, again, another very popular team, very good team, 99 wins. And has all the iconic Red Sox sluggers. So there's 4 70s teams in the set. Then come the 80s, and it's the 81 Billy Martin, Billy Ball Athletics, and the 88 Dodgers. And I want to run these 2 teams against each other because they're alike in a lot of ways.
Yes.
But it's Rickey Henderson and Dwayne Murphy and Tony Armas, that incredible outfield.
That was considered, at least to me, at that time, the best for me, it was the best outfield in baseball all around.
Yeah, I think so too. And that pitching, the starting pitching.
Norris,
Langford, McCaddy, and
Keel,
Kingman.
Tremendous.
Yeah. And this team, their record was 64-45. I mean, this is not just, they didn't just kind of back into the playoffs. It was a really good team in 81 that beat a lot of clubs, and was
they swept the Royals in the. Was it best out of? I think it was best out of 5 the first.
Yeah, it was.
They swept them 3-0.
Yeah, and it wasn't. I was watching that series to kind of to see what the team was like, and I never got the feeling like the Royals were in any of the games, even when it was scoreless. I mean, it felt like such a mismatch, and I can't figure out why, because I mean, there's George Brett and Hal McRae and all that.
Yeah, they're 1 year away from their World Series lost. They're still a good team. They won the second half when they split the seasons in half after the strike. But I remember I was rooting so hard for Billy Martin. I've always said I'm a big Billy Martin fan. And the A's, and then they went to New York, and then the Yankees swept them 3-0. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, that was tough. That was not good. But they'll be interesting against the 88 Dodgers. The 88 Dodgers, of course, is the Kirk Gibson, Oral Hershiser team. But there's a lot of pieces on that team, and I carded more players for the 88 Dodgers than I did for any other team in the set, because they did so much wheeling and dealing to try and get into the playoffs that and there were some injuries too, actually. So there's like couple of things going on, but there's a lot of 88 Dodger cards in the set, and you'll have to kind of make your own roster from that. But 94 wins, not probably Tommy Lasorda's best team, but they won it in 5, and they beat a pretty good team doing it. So I thought they deserved to be in the set from that standpoint. And I looked at
Oral Hershiser. That's the year he had the shutout streak.
Yeah.
That should be a very good card. I would think.
It is, yeah. And he, between the first, I want to say 3 starting pitchers, Hershiser, Leary, and Belcher, and then they had this shutdown bullpen. I mean, if it's one of the best bullpens in the set. If you are not beating this team by the 7th inning, I don't think you're gonna, or maybe by the 6th. And so it's depending upon how you manage them. It's easy to say, and the Bob Costas thing that's so famous about how he said before Game 1 of the World Series that the Dodger lineup might be the worst any team has fielded in all of World Series history. And that was supposed to be this huge motivating thing for them.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Maybe their lineup isn't that great relative to the other teams in the set, but boy, can they pitch. And I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see how they do. You better win it before the 7th or 8th inning because they are shut down on the back end. And that ends the 80s. And so then the only decade left is the 90s. I had to choose between the 92 and the 93 Blue Jays. And I chose 93. And I did that because I thought their numbers were a little bit better. They, in terms of offensive production, and this is one of the, I would say, up there with the 53 Yankees and maybe the 57 Braves in terms of, and 50 and 76 Reds in terms of run scoring potential in the set. Paul Molitor in Cito Gaston's lineup hit 6th. John Olerud hit 363 and he batted 5th. So now I'm not saying Cito was a brilliant strategist, but just the fact that he could do that and they still won is kind of amazing to me. Beat an okay Phillies team in the World Series in 6.
Beat him in 6, I think, right?
Yeah, with the walk-off off Mitch Williams. So
yeah, Mitch Williams was horrific in that series, and he was actually horrific in the playoffs, in my opinion, because he had a good season, but he did not pitch well, in my opinion, in the playoffs or definitely not in the World Series.
Yeah, I remember at the time thinking he really looked gassed, but of course there weren't radar guns to that extent. But I would love to know. I bet he wasn't hitting 90.
No. The balls going out of the ballpark were hitting well over 90.
They were. That's true. And then the last team is the 95 Mariners that I selected over the 97 Mariners for 2 reasons. Number one, they were part of maybe the best playoff series in the decade against the Yankees in the division series that year. And this was the team. Seattle was very, very, very close to losing baseball. And this team
saved it.
The excitement that the team generated got them to got attendance up, got interest in the team up, and got political backing for the discussion for a new park going. And
also leads to a really good Seinfeld skit. Why did you trade Jay Buhner?
Yeah. Yes. It's a fun team. And they got Randy Johnson, they got Norm Charlton. And if you haven't watched My Oh My on YouTube, you've really got to do that. Take an hour and watch that because Dave Niehaus was unbelievable in broadcasting their games, and it just gives you chills to hear his description. So a lot of good players: Ken Griffey Jr., Randy Johnson, Edgar Martinez, but an offensive club for sure. But they got some pitchers too. Going to be interesting to see one of those wild card type of teams that might do really well as well. So those are the 23. And then you get the 2 rookie teams,
And
2
let's
rookie all-star teams.
scroll up here for a second so we can get that. Now, this is really interesting. I just want to read the players out just in case people can't see, because I can't make this any bigger, unfortunately. I don't know how. For the American League, and these are all rookies of the year, and there are 31 of them, correct, Kurt?
Correct. So the only stats that matter for these guys are the stats in their rookie seasons and the positions that they played in their rookie season. So like Dave Righetti, for example, many people think of him as a relief pitcher.
He was a starter.
He was a starter in 1981. So that's
I know, because I don't know if it was 81, but he did throw a no-hitter against the Red Sox on 4th of July, which made me sick to my stomach. I'm just going to read the American Leaguers, and then you can tell us about how you came up with this set, and obviously they had to be rookies of the year. Pitchers for the American League Rookies of the Year All-Star Team, we'll call it. Mark Fidrich. And then is that Herb's score?
It is.
Gary Peters.
Yep.
Lefty,
White Sox. Yep.
Okay, I know it. Dave Righetti, Justin Verlander, Bird. I don't remember his first name.
I always mess it up. I think it's Henry. It might be Harry. I think it's Harry.
Then there's Street.
I will say he was surprisingly good.
Houston Street, right?
Philadelphia Athletics.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he has an interesting story, too. Kind of a junk baller, but was a very good pitcher. And kind of an interesting part of this. Got a sleeper in the set, for sure.
Then is that Houston Street next?
Yes.
And then Sasaki.
Yep, Kaz Sasaki from the Mariners.
Bailey.
That's Andrew Bailey from 2009, the Oakland Athletics.
Oh, okay. Yep. Greg Olson and Shoshani Ohtani.
Yeah, I had trouble because I didn't want to make 2 cards for him. So I had to kind of squeeze everything into one card. It's a busy card. There's a lot going on, but it's all on there. The offense, the pitching, the whole thing, it's there.
That's awesome. And you didn't have to buy an extra card.
No, it's all
that's
on
a dig
one.
That's a dig at something, but that's
right.
Okay. The position players: Carlton Fisk, Thurman Munson, Sandy Alomar, Mark McGuire, Eddie Murray, Rod Carew, Lou Whitaker, Eric Hinsky, Evan Longoria, Derek Jeter, Nomar Garciaparra, Griff. Is that Alfredo Griffin?
Yep.
Okay. Tony Kubek, Ichiro, Tony Oliva, Go Joe Charbonneau, Mike Trout, Fred Lynn, I forgot Ron Kittle was Rookie of the Year, and Tom Tresh. That's this again for 12. Again, whichever you get, whether it's a PDF or the card, the printed set, but you cannot go wrong for $12.99. Just the Bob Gibson card alone, that you could sit there and say, I'm going to put Bob Gibson on the Red Sox. I can do that if I play. Because Bob Gibson always wanted to be a Red Sox. I'm telling you right now. And it's a 68 version of Bob Gibson. But this set, and then to me, these are like bonus teams. I know that it's a 25-team set, but I didn't realize you were doing this until we talked a little bit. And I thought you're just, when I quickly looked at it, you talked about it, I didn't really pay it. It didn't register. I thought you were talking about like there's X amount of rookies of the year and blah, blah, blah. I didn't realize you were creating all-star teams with these rookies of the year. And Joe Charbonneau, one-hit wonder, but he had a good 1 year. A good 1 year.
He did. But if you're going to put him in the field, just pray the ball's not hit to him.
Yes.
But yes, a lot of fun. I mean, he could mash. And I guess they must have started throwing him curveballs in 81, but when they were throwing him fastballs, he certainly hit them. So was a fun set to put together. There's a few guys I couldn't squeeze in there that I really wanted to, so I might have to come back to this in another set. But that American League team, well, the National League team might even be better.
And we're going to go through that in a second. Okay, so here's the National League team. Pitchers. One of my favorite players right now, DeGrom. I'd like to see him pitch a little more than the Mets actually pitch him. Doc Gooden, Fernando Valenzuela, Tom Seaver. Is that Joe Black?
It's Joe Black, yep.
Joe Black, okay. Todd Worrell, Williamson. That's
Scott from the Reds.
Okay, all right.
Kind of a 1 year, not a 1 year career, but kind of a 1 year wonder.
Yeah. Steve Howe, Dodgers. John Matlack, I forgot, was Rookie of the Year.
Yep. Kerry
Wood was outstanding his rookie year. He threw such a nasty, I'm going to say a breaking pitch because I really don't remember what the hell it was. I don't know if it was a curve or it just moved. I remember, and he had a good, excellent fastball. And then he hurt his arm. And Craig Kimbrell. Position players: Johnny Bench, Benito Santiago, Mike Piazza, Buster Posey, Willie McCovey, Jackie Robinson, Bellinger, who I can never remember his first name, Bellinger from the Dodgers, right?
Yep, Cody, yep.
Cody, that's it. Pete Rose, Jim Gilliam, Dodgers.
Yep.
Bob Horner, Atlanta Braves, Richie Allen, Rafael Furcal, Alvin Dark. Is it Bruce Harper? No, that's a football player. Bryce. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Bryce Harper. I'd rather have Bruce Harper on my team. Darryl Strawberry, Willie Mays, Billy Williams, Frank Robinson, and Vince Coleman. Wow. Again, I never say this set correctly, but great players on just random kind of, you put them together on random, I think like American League 1 and 2, National League 1 and 2, and then you had the Negro Leagues 1 and 2. And I have that set. This set, if you just had American League and National League, could compete with that set.
Yeah.
Or you could integrate them with those sets to make a draft league. There's so much fun you can do with these two final teams. And again, it had to be a lot of fun doing, as Richard Butler says, the National League rookies are loaded.
Yeah. I wanted there to be 11 pitchers per league, and I wanted there to be 4 pitchers of the 11 that were primarily relievers. Although Joe Black was both in the National League and somebody was in the American League. Fidrich had some relief appearances, but I think it was Gary Peters who might have had some relief appearances. Somebody did.
Fidrich, to start off 76, worked out of the pen.
Right. And then in position players, there's 3 catchers in the American League. There's 4 in the National League. And for every other position, there's at least 2 guys that can play. So if you wanted to leave them as their league teams, you could do that. And there's plenty of backups to cover everything if you want to go that way. Or you can cut down to 25 if you want to do that too. So there's 11 pitchers per league, and then I kind of drew the line there because there's so many hitters. I mean, the Rookie of the Year award, I learned pretty much from doing this, is pretty much an offensive award, and so it's tough to not keep including hitters, but. So it was a lot of fun to put this together and think about the ways that people could use them in games. So yeah,
Mets have 3 pitchers. No, Was Matt Lack was also a Met, but was he Rookie of the Year with the Mets?
Yes, 1972. Yep.
4 Rookie of the Year pitchers on this team: DeGrom, Gooden, Seaver, and Matt Lack. That's amazing to me. So if you're a Mets fan, what are you waiting for? PDF $12.99. Come on. So what are some? I've watched the demos again. Kurt Bergland's YouTube channel. The link is provided in the chat and on the page if you want to check out some of the demo games. What were some of the teams you liked in case someone didn't see the demo games? And what were your impressions?
Well, the first impression that I got was that I think it's easy for someone not familiar with the dead ball era to come to the conclusion that the dead ball teams wouldn't be very competitive. And they really are. Just because they aren't hitting 3-run homers, they've got, and just because their benches are shorter, because 25
Less
people
players
wasn't really required until 1925. And even after 25, there were players on every team that just sat there, I guess, all summer and did nothing. I mean, nothing. We're talking about like less than 10 games. You sat on the bench the whole season and maybe got yourself 15 plate appearances. That's a bench. So you look at these dead ball teams and well, they're not going to be competitive, but they really are. And I was impressed that at the closeness of the games that was happening on the demo games on my videos, very tight. And I haven't gone through all of the teams yet and given them a game yet, but this is a very, very tightly competitive group. It's just a different kind of baseball. And and I think, for example, Whitey Herzog, his Cardinal teams, his Royal teams too, but his Cardinal teams in the 80s ran, and they weren't relying on 3-run homers. I mean, sure, at the end there they had Jack Clark, but before that they didn't. And unless George Hendrick is your idea of a home run hitter, they didn't have a lot of power, and yet they were scoring runs. In fact, one of the things during Herzog's best seasons, he actually had more wins on the road than he did in his home park. So there's a style of baseball here. It's just an aggressive style. It's a different style. But just because you're not hitting home runs doesn't mean that you're not
They
winning.
were producing runs.
Right, exactly. And so that was one thing. And the other thing that I was struck by, I guess, is that the evolution of the bullpen. You start to see some pseudo closers, I guess, in the 50s, and the role, of course, evolves more in the 60s and 70s and today. But the back end of the pitching staff becomes a lot more usable and important. But the way these guys were used, Christy Mathewson, for instance, averaged 8.4, I think it was, innings per game. So who needs a bullpen when you got guys that are completing games with that kind of regularity and are awesome? So it's just a different type of game, and it's there's a lot of baseball history to learn here. And if you're interested in doing that and kind of testing out what you think of the different eras, I think there's a lot of entertainment to be had here. I know I learned a lot putting the set together that I did not know.
Yeah, and the other thing, what's great about these types of sets, when you have teams from different decades, different play styles, different eras, you're not buying all of 1904, which you still might enjoy. I'm not saying not, like dead ball, but you're getting you're getting the better dead ball teams, and you can just sit there and play. Again, if you get both sets, right, it's $26 approximately PDF.
Yep,
Approximately.
that's right.
Okay. You have a nice selection of dead ball teams. In this set, and I just put I have the right here so I can bring it back up also there. But you have 1904 Giants, 1907 Cubs, 1909 Tigers, 1916 Red Sox, 1919 White Sox. Plus, in the prior, and again, I have the teams over here, but I'm not going to. You had three other dead ball teams. 3 or 4. I think
Yeah,
3.
it was the Pirates, the
Tigers,
the Pirates from 02, the Athletics from 11, the Braves from 14, I think. Or did I not do them?
I
No,
think it's the
can't remember.
Tigers.
Oh, did I do a Tiger team? Maybe I did.
Ty
I
Cobb.
can't remember.
Yeah. But anyway, you're getting a nice, I guess my point is you're getting a nice cross section of a lot of different great teams from different eras. I love this kind of stuff. This is what I like. Tournaments, all kinds of possibilities here. And again, the American League, National League Rookie of the Years, all-star teams are just phenomenal. And Beatles Eternally's here. As he says, I'm so glad to see such a set. It's a wonderful game. So you learned about dead ball more than you knew, and you're a historian of baseball, so that's cool. What was, I guess you've talked about it already, the 1925 Pirates, just because give us a little more. What was their dysfunction exactly? Was it just that they didn't like their manager? Because you were saying how they didn't play in 1927. They didn't play Collier, excuse me. What was their dysfunction in 25, in your opinion? From what you found out?
There's like layers to it. It's so weird. Okay, so on one layer, it's like they're middle school girls with cliques.
Yeah.
I mean, but like cliques that weren't talking to each other. So there's that like passive aggressive kind of stuff. Just really weird. Like you're an adult. So there's that. And then it's Bill McKechnie, the manager, playing favorites, but playing favorites in like a mean way. So like he'd be backstabbing some players to other players. Weird.
So totally dysfunctional.
Yes. Ownership had a role in it too, because I don't know. I mean, if McKechnie's doing this stuff today, he gets whacked faster than you can say Clint Hurdle. And back then, they were okay with it. I mean, if he's winning, who cares?
Yeah.
So he kind of had carte blanche to do whatever he wanted.
So this was before the Bronx Zoo.
Yes.
Well before the Bronx. This was a Pittsburgh Zoo.
Yes. And the really, really, really strange part is there's there's one more strange part, and that is that in 1925 there were people allowed on the bench who were just there to gossip and complain.
Players or non-players?
Non-players, coaches, sort of, just there to kind of complain,
stir the pot,
right? And that eventually, it led to some additional player problems. It eventually led later on to McKechnie getting canned. But the really weird part about it is that there's 4 individuals that were involved in all this. All of them took these secrets to the grave.
You were saying that when you briefly touched on it before. I didn't know that, and I found it fascinating. So I wanted to ask you that. That's, sometimes I know the A's were a bit dysfunctional in the 70s, but okay, let's give you three teams in an era, because about 70s Billy Martin with the Yankees, right?
Right.
early mid 70s with the A's, more early 70s, 72, 73, 74, 71 actually to 75.
Yeah.
And now this 19 mid 20s type of Pittsburgh team, in your opinion, and they're all sort of dysfunctional, right?
Yeah.
Which is the most dysfunctional? Because it sounds like it's a 20. This Pittsburgh team seems just bizarre to me.
Well, I mean, the times were different
Right.
in the 20s. But yeah, I would say they're the weirdest group of people. I mean, and the strange thing to me is they still won. Not just the 1925 World Series, but the Pirates were pretty competitive in the 20s.
Yeah.
And much is made, about how before game 1 of the 27 World Series, about how the Yankees
batting practice.
Yes, and then
they were in awe of the Yankees.
Yeah, they put super balls in the baseballs, and so when Gehrig hit it, it would go like 8 miles, and it wasn't even a real baseball. It was just like a joke. But okay, they were intimidated, but then they were still doing this weird stuff. I mean, you're starting right fielder who started through July. McKechnie decides he doesn't like anymore, sits him on the bench for the rest of the season, and they win anyway. He might have been their best player. And then they go to the World Series, and now they get swept. But this was a really, really, really good team. And so, like the A's and the Yankees in the 70s, but I can't get my head around what was happening with this team.
It's just, yeah,
I think it's
interesting. I don't know you're the historian. You do a great job with your research on your pine tar sets. And again, if you're interested in this set, we'll bring it up once again. Bear with me a moment as we go share screen. You can email Kurt Bergland. His email, and I'll let Kurt say it, but his email is on the page and in the chat up to the top. And actually now Kurt has it up, so let's stop sharing. And there we go.
There you go.
So you go to PayPal, and it's Kurt@yahoo.com. Bergland.Kurt. Yep. Bergland.Kurt@yahoo.com. PDFs $12.99. Cards shipped $59.99, and that includes shipping and handling. So it's one straight price.
Tomorrow I send out the PDFs. And
I'm excited.
I ship
I'm excited.
The cards. So if you send in your stuff anytime now for your payment, the PDFs will go out probably tomorrow night, maybe tomorrow afternoon, and the cards will ship via UPS tomorrow before lunch. So tomorrow's the big day. Tomorrow's the launch. So to answer your question, I think I would pick the 25 Pirates as crazier than both the 70 A's and the
Yankees.
The Bronx is burning Yankees.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say. I had no clue about. I knew they had good team. I knew 27 World Series. I knew the 20s. They won in 20. They had good teams in that part of the 20s, but I didn't know about that. It was interesting to me. The Whiz Kids, 1950 Phillies. Again, that's a team that pretty much came out of sort of nowhere. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, nobody really expected him to win. They were getting better in 49. They had been awful for decades before that. And then they took the Dodgers to the last day of the season and beat them on a home run by Dick Sisler. And that propelled them into the playoffs. They kind of limped to the flag, to the pennant in 50, but this was a team that was really good in 50. Kind of paid the price a little bit for overworking their pitching staff in 51, bounced back a little bit in 52, and then were pretty awful for the rest of the decade. In fact, they were pretty awful until Gene Walker arrived, and even a couple of years after that. 62, 63, things started to turn around. But this Phillies team is a very popular one. It's a team that is noteworthy because of all the big names.
The thunderstorms knocked my ass out. We're back.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a fun team to play. And if they had been, at peak health and not in military service at the time of the September and October, losing Simmons was really bad for them. But they lost another starting pitcher too, and just that they didn't have any teeth to play the Yankees with. But a fun team and an important team because they were the last winner in Philadelphia until the Phillies won the World Series in 1980. So Phillies fans kind of cling to those whiz kids
for a long time.
Yeah.
Bears Den says Eddie Collins couldn't believe a team could win without the traditional teamwork, but then he joined the Sox.
Yeah.
Now, again, a team near and dear to my heart, the 78 Red Sox, very good starting team, thin on the bench, especially towards end of the year. Actually, thin on the bench pretty much all through the year. And you have Captain Error at third base, Butch Hobson. Not his fault that he had the floating bone chips, but at some point you have to sit there and go, okay. He used to take, like, I'm exaggerating slightly. He would field the ball and take 4 or 5 steps and then throw it to first. I mean, it might be a slight exaggeration, but I watched a lot of those games when I was a kid. So that's a really fun team there. Is Bob Bailey on that team?
He is. And he's one of the rare players that I've carded whose position is designated hitter.
Yeah, he does not do anything else. And he was a good player throughout his career.
He was.
At the end with the Red Sox, he was obviously done. Bernie Carbo, I would think, would not be there because he got traded early.
Right. And I should mention that, actually. All of the players that are carded.
Yes. Like season-ending type rosters?
Yeah. So if you were traded during the season, you're not on the team. If you were released during the season, in some cases, if you had enough at-bats, you could be on the team. McDonald is a pitcher for the 53 Yankees who they released, I want to say, in August. But I made a card of him. So it kind of depends. But if you're traded during the season, I tried to keep the focus on what the team looked like at the end.
Gotcha.
Or in the case of a player that was released, you could plug him in there and say, well, what if they didn't?
Right. And he played enough.
Disrupt things too much. Right. So, so Carbo was gone by then to Cleveland. So, he's not on this particular team. But they're good. I mean, Rice, this is Rice's monster year. All of these players had at least a representative. All of their starting offensive players had at least a representative offensive year. Nobody had a down year except for George Scott. And they are going to score runs. Now, the question is, of course, are they going to keep the other team when push comes to shove and they're playing the other elite teams of Major League Baseball history? Are they going to keep some of these great teams from scoring often enough for all their runs to matter? And that's going to be what's interesting.
That's going to be Eckersley. You have Eck. He'll be okay again. And then Mike Torres, who's not as horrific as people think, and then there's Bill Lee, who Zimmer didn't pitch really the second half of the year because he got mad at him. Again, right. Thanks, Don. They're starting pitching. The bullpen definitely. Stanley had a good year. Bill Soup Campbell dropped off from 77, but they pitched him a gazillion innings in 77.
Right.
I think they finished 3 games out in 77, 2.5 games out, 3 out. Well, 3, yeah. Because they surged at the end in 77 after they swooned. But yeah, they didn't have. It would have been interesting to see that 77 team. To me, I know they're not on this set. I'm just saying, to me, the 77 team, they could mash that ball. They were tremendous. The pitching, I still don't understand why Ferguson Jenkins in his few years with the Red Sox was a 500 pitcher. And they basically traded him for a bat. Look up who they traded. They sent him to Texas for literally a bag of balls. I mean, it's some player to be named. The guy never even played in the majors.
Yeah, it was Jenkins and Carbo and Lee and somebody.
They broke up that crew.
Yeah.
They were all very friendly.
And hated Zimmer and gave Zimmer all sorts of problems. And I don't know. I mean, it's tough for Fergie to pitch in Fenway because he's a fly ball pitcher, and I know there's been speculation about the drugs at that period too for him, but even so, you look at their on paper at their team in 77 and you wonder how they didn't win, but
the pitching.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there with this set, but the 77 team, it's funny. I just Bears Den said 77 is my favorite year. Great year for baseball. The 77 team, just a little outside baseball talk from this, and we'll get back to it. And I've realized I've played that. That's like 67 for me for the Red Sox. I like to play it because it's what if the pitching somehow held up, and it never does hold up in a sim. It never does. But they could hit. Hobson batted ninth he had 30 homers.
Right.
It's a tremendous. The other team that's an enigma. I don't know if I used the word right, but I think I said it right. The 1950 Red Sox, I have fallen in love with. Absolutely horrific pitching, but man, could they hit. And they would never be in a great teams league. You know, they're like a tier below or not.
Right.
But their pitching would be awful. That's another fun little team, just on a side note for Red Sox teams, if you're a Red Sox fan. So you do have a Milwaukee team, the 57 Braves, in this set. On the prior great team set, you have the Brewers of 82.
Yeah. That's right.
Again, Harvey's wall bangers. So, I mean, there's the 62 Giants, another fun team here. There's so many great names, Kurt, in this set because they're great teams, but they're just, my God, to sit there and like, what do you think Bob Gibson does against Oral Hershiser? You know?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I tried to, when I made the list, I thought, okay, well now, which of these teams is the best runner-up team? Which of these teams is the best team not to win the World Series? And that would make an interesting tournament. And I think it might be the 62 Giants, but you're right. The names are just incredible. I mean, there's just so much baseball history here that the matchups are very, very intriguing for sure. There's a lot of possibilities.
It's just going to be a really tremendously fun set to go along with a lot of other fun sets that you've created along with James Formo. There's seasons available that those would be, well, the 72 seasons of which I have the 72 season, a lot of fun. And again, the 72 season has Steve Carlton playing on an absolutely horrific Phillies team. But there's another fun matchup. If you do have the 72 season, you can throw Carlton, a former teammate of Bob Gibson. I think that's going to be one of my games on the channel because I love those pitching matchups. To me, they're like they're fights. You know, they're like championship fights. Him and Gibby, Bob Gibson. Just so many fun sets. You have seasons. And again, for the seasons, they're more on the Pine Tar website, which I provided Life is Sports in the chat and on the page, so you can check those out. Are there any, and then Kurt, we'll turn it back over to you, and if there's any questions regarding Pine Tar, we'll take them from the chat, we'll open it up, we'll go a little longer. Are there any, I know you've been busy with this, thank you very much. I love these sets, they're awesome. What are there seasons you're thinking of doing yourself or James?
Yeah, that's the next thing I have to do. There's a couple things I need to do. One, I ran a poll a few months ago of really bad teams that people wanted on the Facebook page, and
yeah,
I haven't finished that set yet. I'm just going to make a very small set. It might be 6 teams, it might be 8 teams, and of some of maybe the worst teams in baseball
62
history.
Mets.
You're right.
Who actually could hit a bit. Pitching not so good at all.
There's going to be a lot of G's.
Yeah, that's when you're just sitting there. You're praying. When it's funny, the pitching grade to me when I got Pine Tar, I had never played because I didn't play APA, and I guess there's pitch. I've watched people play, so there's pitching grade. So I played other games, but nothing with a pitching grade. The closest thing was a game that had a rating between like a control factor, which was pretty cool.
Right.
The pitching grades are so fascinating to me for Pine Tar baseball because I think I love one of your sayings. Like if you're not doing an as played, if you're not doing as played, especially if you have the great team sets and you're just playing games or series or what matchups, you can do what you want. So, yeah, they might not have pitched this guy as much as you wanted, but he has 20 starts, and you know what? He's better at home than their ace. I'm pitching this guy. So that was really a fascinating thing to me, the home and away pitching grades. I find that fascinating, and it's one of the joys of Pine Tar baseball to me, as well as the engine, which is a fun, quick engine. In my opinion, you can learn it quickly. And also, Kurt, tell us about, if you want, you can either play with the modifier die or decider die. I don't know what you want to call that. Or you can just play with the 2 red and white die, which I'm starting to do because I saw you do it. And either way is fine, but I kind of like just the red and white die.
Yeah, I'm becoming a fan of the 2 dice. You can do 3 D10s plus 1 D6 and use the D6 as sort of an alternate modifier die, but I am liking the 2 D10s too, and you pull in the 3rd D10 when you're doing error check and everything works great. So that I really like that part about it. And the other part that I thought of when you were talking about the pitching was, Casey Stengel had the strangest starting rotations because he was picking pitchers for matchups. And that's really what Pine Tar allows you to be able to do. Now, if you're going to set up a starting rotation, sometimes you're going to take your lumps. But like Casey in 53 was using 7, maybe 8 guys and just plugging them in. Now, part of this was financial because the Yankees didn't want to pay any of these pitchers, so they didn't want them to get enough starts to win 20 games. So they encouraged Casey to, keep the start numbers a little bit lower so that you couldn't get to 20 wins. And this, of course, was not pleasing to people like Whitey Ford. But
it is, that makes sense because there's a lot of times you see, you go, wow, the guy didn't get to 20. You'd think he'd get to 20, but I didn't even know that. That's interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, so it's like a financial impact of the game on the field. And so, but Pine Tar allows you to be able to think about, okay, how do I want to do these matchups? Or if the team that you're using only used 4 starters, well then that's what you've got. And you're going to have to rotate through, and sometimes you're going to be on the road and sometimes you're going to be home. And just like that pitcher did, you're going to have to kind of figure it out. So yeah, it's I like the game that way as well. It really, you got a lefty righty matchups matter, and for the pitchers, home and road matters, and it builds in the ballpark effects just by their performance on
Right.
the field. And so
because you don't, in this game, you don't have a saying at this ballpark it's this, at this ballpark it's this. You have a pitching rating home and away, and that is the ballpark effect. Doesn't matter what ballpark. If the pitcher is better on the road, he's better on the road. Again, you can say, well, specifically at what? Again, it's built in. I just love the pitching grades. It's just a lot of fun. Beatles asks a question: how are you doing lefty-righty splits for dead ball? A lot of research.
Well, yeah. The lefty-righty splits do exist for the dead ball teams. Sometimes you have to look at Retro Sheet instead of Baseball Reference to get the numbers, but they're there. Now, what we don't have yet are the lefty-righty splits for all of the Negro League seasons.
Yeah.
And that's supposed to be coming this year. So I'm really looking forward to that. So we talked a little bit about what I'm doing the rest of the year after these bad teams are come out, and I'm going to do those next. Then I'm looking at a season from the 60s, and I've got it narrowed down to 62 or 65, and I haven't picked which one yet. Everybody and their brother has done 62, so I was leaning towards 65. But
that's the Twins and the Dodgers.
Right. And
Dodgers win the World Series.
Right. The Indians are good. The Yankees aren't. It's the last season for the Braves in Milwaukee. So, and the Giants are really good. In fact, the Giants very easily could have won the National League pennant. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. It's a fun year. So I've got to get a season nailed down. And the other thing I've got is 1920 about half done.
Oh, really?
And I need to finish that too. So hopefully,
that's awesome.
Those two of those things will happen before the end of the calendar year of 2021.
Any thought, because it's a season, any thought on 76?
Yes, actually, I bought the Cord Sports Facts and the Street and Smith's 1977 magazines that have the recap
of 1976.
Yeah, and it's the Street and Smith's has Fidrich on the cover. It's a pretty beaten up copy, but I have read it. It's probably gonna be the next 70s season that I do, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna get to that much before 2022. But
right.
The races aren't very competitive, but there's a lot of things that I think make a cool set out of it. It's Aaron's last year, of course. It's Fidrich. There's some other good young players.
Jackson 1 year in Baltimore.
Yeah, it's an interesting Orioles team. The Yankee team is Billy Martin's first in New York. It's a good, not great, but it's a good Mets team. And of course, the Reds kind of blow away the National League. Yeah. But I think it's an interesting season, and it's not one that's easy to find. And so I'm interested in 76 for 2022.
Yeah, if it, again, you guys have to do something that's feasible and you think that people want, and it's going to be a seller. But I was just curious. I'm so happy that Mark Fidrich, that I'm going to have a Fidrich card. I'm ecstatic about that. So are there any questions in the chat? Throw them out now for Kurt Bergland. Kurt, we're not going to leave just yet, but thank you very much. And then I'll
thank you, Al. Thank you.
With the questions, I'll turn them over to you, and then I'll give you the, whatever you want to say at the end, In fact, right now, is there anything you'd like to add
I just want to thank everybody for making Pine Tar work, because it doesn't work, obviously, without interest from everybody. Joining the Facebook page, rolling some games, taking a look at the card sets, and it's fun to do. It's fun to interact.
That's a great thing about our community. A lot of interaction.
It really is. And you ask for help. I ask for help on these sets, and people give me feedback, and that's really important, and it's very gratifying. So thank you.
World's Worst Gamer says, Kurt, have you fixed the range yet in the kitchen?
No,
that's a good line.
Very upset.
Give us a ring. Give us one of those right now.
Get to the kitchen. It's a range check. I smell gas. Don't light a match. For the love of God, don't light a match.
Give us, and you have to understand, Teresa, sometimes when I'm watching, like I'll watch your videos and I'm playing a game, and all of a sudden I'll stop and go, get to the kitchen. It's a range check. And she's like, what the heck are you? I go, no, it's what Kurt says. I like to say it along with him when I know it's coming. It's pretty fun. The other one, you got to do it just because I find it funny. And I again, if you have not subscribed to Kurt Bergland's channel, please do so. Very entertaining channel, very informative channel. You do book reviews, which I really like. It had me search for a Tony Canigliaro book, which I'm going to read. Kurt's got a book, maybe.
This is next Monday's book. It's about the Whiz Kids. It's Robin Roberts' book about the Whiz Kids. So that's Monday at 10 a.m.
And that's going to be premiering Monday.
Yes.
Awesome. The Captain Carl says, I just subbed to Kurt's channel so that I can watch more Pine Tar games before purchasing it. Also, if you're on the face page, as Kurt's mom calls it, that's another one of my favorite things. The Facebook group page is excellent. Link provided on the page and in the chat. You just have to go up. But yeah, I think it's a very fun game. I only play the games I like, and I always suggest to anybody, play the games you like. Don't worry what people think.
That's right.
The one you have to do, another one, now that I got you here, Kurt.
Yeah.
You got to do when, God forbid you don't play with an as-played lineup. I like, because heads will do that one. That's a funny one. Okay. I like that one.
I just got to talk about this for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
But because I want to back Don Zimmer third all the time for the 62 match.
Okay. You've got in your possession the ability to make your own starting lineup. What you've wanted to do since you were 5 years old, sitting in the stands at a game.
Or watching on TV.
What do? You say, oh my God, I can't play this game because I don't know what the manager actually did. And then it doesn't stop there. No. Then what they do is they look and see who the manager used in relief in the real game, even though the game you're playing could be completely different. So.
And there's nothing wrong with that. We're just saying.
That's right. So what happens is when you don't use the as-played lineups, heads explode all over this great land of ours. And that's why. Because we want to know what actually happened. We've got to know that. Or
heads will explode.
Hands right here and press a little bit. Because otherwise your gray matter is going to blast all over the walls.
And it's going to be messy.
Oh, terrible.
We don't want to clean that crap up.
No, I'm not doing it.
I'm not doing it.
No.
Bearsden says, I don't play historical lineups either. And again, we're just having a little jest with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I just love that phrase because, when I do as played, I've done a couple of as played World Series. I'm sitting there going, oh my God, why? Why did you not just move these guys around? But because people like to see it. But I also, what I do now is I do alternate. I say, right, this is an alternate replay. It's my lineups. I'm playing with a DH if I want in both leagues. Don't care. Well, why would you play with a DH out? Because I want Sandy Koufax to pitch. I'm not pinch hitting. Not that I would anyway. And I want, what other, here's the other cool thing about Pine Tar baseball. Don Drysdale in 65 hit freaking 300, right?
No, he did. And
I can DH Don Drysdale. That's fun. Yeah. That's what sports sim gaming and sports should be about. Fun. And if you tell me I can DH Don Drysdale, I've done it. I think it's great. It's fun. I got to finish up my great series. The Yankees of 61 and the 55. That 55 Dodger team. I knew obviously that's the only Brooklyn Dodger team to win a World Series.
Right.
They never won one like way back one. That was the only.
Well, they were in it, but they didn't win.
Right. They won a lot. They won a lot of National League pennants, but they never.
Right.
That Brooklyn Dodgers team is phenomenal at the plate.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost went with a DH, but then I saw how good Newcomb could hit. I was like, well, I can't really, I kind of want to be, people are going to, Don Newcomb. But I was so tempted because I was like, well, Newcomb doesn't pitch. I'm going to DH him. But they had so many, where are you going to DH? They have so many good bats in that lineup, even the guys on the bench.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about that team is that when they were interviewed after the fact, they all said, well, you should have seen us in 53. We were better.
Yeah.
So.
But that Yankee team was phenomenal.
Well, yeah. And it's a wonderful matchup with the 61 Yankees and that Dodger team. I mean, that gonna have some. You've already had some long games with those.
Well, some of that. Listen, if you come to an Al Red Sox stream, if you're expecting speed anything, forget about it. But I like to talk to the chat. I like to enjoy the game. I like to savor the meal. Bleacher Bums Game, our good friend Anthony. Glory Days Boxing. Glory Days Boxing. Check it out. Wonderful game. We'll have Anthony on pretty soon also. And you know what I love about this community? I've been able to meet wonderful people like yourself, Anthony from Bleacher Bums Gaming, Kerry Bates and Mike from the truck, we call him, Super Bowl Tournament, Pro Strategy Football, all independent sports sim content creators for games. Pine Tar Baseball, Card and Dice. Glory Days Boxing, Card and Dice. Pro Strategy Football on the PC, but they're all independent. And what's great is you guys are open to feedback and you listen to the community. You come to these chats, which a lot of these bigger companies will not do. And I don't even talk about, they don't want to, why not come on and talk about your product?
Right.
You think you're but it's just awesome stuff. And Don Drysdale could swing a good bat in 1965. Roger Ward, hello, how you doing, my friend? But it's so much fun, Kurt, to have you guys on, yourself and others on, to talk about your product. And you do a marvelous job. And these sets are fun to me. Dave Gardner, is 1980 available? 82 is available.
82
That's a good
available.
season,
No,
1980.
80 might be my all-time favorite season. The reason that I didn't decide to make it yet is because 82 is sitting there, and I don't know. I did 72, even though there was 73 already. But I'm gonna try and get away. But I gotta come back and do 80 because I love 80.
Brett almost hits 400.
Yeah, I mean, the races were good. There was some turnover in terms of the good teams.
Maybe before 76, do 80.
Yeah, maybe.
Because there's better races. But again, it's just, I'm biased because I like, you know what, you gave me, I might ask for a personal favor. I might sit there, can you just make me the Tigers? 76 Tigers. That's it. No, I'm just kidding. But that's a good season. And Roger Ward says Pine Tar is amazing. I agree. It's such a fun game. And I play other games, but I know I've said it already, it's the intriguing pitching home and away ratings. And then also the first two times through the lineup, usually a pitcher will drop a grade, but not all, drop different to a different grade. Not all of them. Sometimes they get better.
It's there's a second layer to it, and it came up in the game with the 78 Red Sox and the 62 Giants. And that was when, so I think Eckersley got tired, and so and the pitcher spot for the Giants was up, and I brought up Willie McCovey to pinch hit.
Yep, I remember listening to that. Yep.
And so I looked at the Red Sox bullpen, and
you stuck with Eck.
No.
Oh, no, you went with Bergmeyer. You went with Bergmeyer, lefty.
Now, Bergmeyer
yep.
is a D. He did not have a good year, really, in 78. But
no, he didn't.
He is left-handed, which affects McCovey's split. So when you're thinking about pitching in Pine Tar, you have their performance on the home and the road. But then, as the other layer to it,
lefty-righty,
you have to look at how their handedness affects the lefty-righty split on the batter's card.
Yep.
So there's two things to think about, and it's just it's very engaging. And I didn't create it, so I'm not patting myself.
No, James Formo. No, James created. James Formo. Wonderful game. And again, here's a quick question. There are some dead ball seasons. I've seen them on there. I don't know the exact. I should go to the site right now, then I can tell you. But 1908, is that? I don't think is that on there. 1908. I know there's some. Let me go to the site.
There's 3 from the 19th century, first of all, and then there's I think it's 1897.
I shall be right back in a moment.
All right, I can pull it up here too. Here we go. Okay, I'm still here. All right, so the seasons that are available, and I'm at the ttlbaseballgame.com. Okay, so 1897, 1884, 1915, and 1889 would all be considered dead ball time. So I'll give you those again. Let's do them chronologically. 1884, 1889, 1897, and 1915. 1915, of course, the Red Sox won. That was, I would say, that's Babe Ruth's sort of coming out party, but very good Red Sox team. But I thought it'd be interesting to do the next season for him, which he got better on the mound and at the plate and became sort of the ace of the staff. But 15 is a great season. You've got a lot of wonderful players in the set. The Phillies were the National League pennant winners in 15, and Grover Cleveland Alexander was the ace of their staff. So 84, 89, 97, and 15 are the 4 pure dead ball seasons for Pine Tar.
And Anthony from Bleacher Bums Gaming, thank you, Kurt. I wanted to go grab this.
Oh, there it is. That's Tony C.
I just picked this up. Looking forward to read that. And I can credit Kurt Bergland with that because he's reading so many baseball books. I'm going to finish up Superstar Billy Graham pretty soon. Not a baseball book, a wrestling book. But
it's actually a moving read. And you can't say that about many baseball books, but I was actually moved.
It's a tragic. Again, thank you for So 1915 is available, correct?
Yes, that's
a hell of a season.
It is. It's Ty Cobb, it's Babe Ruth, it's Rogers Hornsby, it's a whole lot of it's Tris Speaker, there's a lot of studs.
So
and it's small. What I like about it too, when you get into these, when there's only 16 teams, you get to know them, and
Yep.
there's a lot there to. There's a lot of interesting matchups, and yeah, that's a very fun set for sure, and it's only $12.99.
So Appa Bryan says, how could you not include Walter Johnson, 1925's 400 batting average in a hitting lineup? I would. And then when he's not, and the way Al, Red Sox fan, plays, and then when he's not pitching, guess what he's going to do? DH. You don't have to have a DH all the time. It's your game. You're set.
That's
Do
right.
it as you will. Great.
It's interesting when I was making the Gary Peters card for the rookie set. He was used as both a pinch hitter and a pinch runner in his rookie season, even though he was, of course, primarily a pitcher.
Who was the Oakland A's? I have his card too. He literally was a pinch runner. That's what he did. He was
Herb Washington.
Herb Washington. I have his baseball card, and it says he's like in that stance, like he's going to steal, and it says pinch runner. He was a sprinter, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James and I had a long conversation about what his pine tar card ought to look like. I remember it clear as day because I wanted to make the 74 A's. It was one of the teams that won the first one of the first surveys I did about, and we eventually we came up with some different looks so that he couldn't be used as a pinch hitter. But it's a funny looking card, but yeah, maybe the A's maybe they were the weirdest. I don't know. It's close between them and the Pirates of 25. I don't know.
Yeah, because the A's were like, they didn't like each other, but they hated their owner more, and they didn't like their manager. I think it was Dick Williams. They basically were going to strike if they. I want to say it was Dick. They cut somebody late in the year in the playoffs. Maybe I don't like. The guy made an error.
Mike Anders,
yeah. And they said, yeah, well, if you don't bring him back, we ain't playing or something like that. And they meant it.
It's just crazy. So those are available on the website. The 19th century teams the PDF is $10.99. And
I'm going to bring that up and share that way. As Bears Den 007 says, I believe Herb got picked off twice in the 1974 World Series.
Yeah,
and of course, hello to our good friend Alan Griggy. All right, let me bring that up, and then we'll let me go over here.
Yeah, for 1884, 1889, and 1897, the PDFs are $10.99.
Can't go wrong.
And for 1915, it's $12.99.
Okay, so now I can do a screen share. Let's see if Al Red Sox fan can do this properly. Yes, we can. So there we go. So now we're going to go to card set. Oh, no, we want to go to season.
No, go to PDF. PDF.
Okay, PDFs.
Yep.
And here, and this is what
page 2.
Number 2.
Page number 2. Yeah, that's got the old stuff.
Okay, so yes, you have 1915, 1884, 1897. How did you research for that stuff? That's incredible.
James did all those.
Yeah, James did the research for that.
Yeah, there's no, as you can see, you can sort of see if you look at the website, there aren't splits for the 19th century players, but there are numbers, and you can set up cards. They just don't have splits, but it's an amazing. It's a very different kind of baseball, but it was definitely baseball.
Just played differently.
Yep.
Well, I mean, look at baseball now. It's let's wait and try to yank the ball out of the ballpark. I still love baseball, but there's no hit and runs. There's no stealing of bases. There's no sacrifices. Some people used to think that. I don't find that boring. I find that interesting. There was a reason why people went to go watch the Go-Go A's or the Billy Ball A's. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And again, to sit around, Earl Weaver believed, sit around and wait for the 3-run homer. Okay. I believe when it comes, it comes. But if you can produce runs with certain portions of your lineup that don't hit 3-run homers, I like a combination of both. I'm just modern baseball. And again, they're checking. It's kind of funny. They check the pitchers now, and maybe they were putting goop on the ball because I guess strikeouts have gone down a bit and the averages have gone up a little bit, which I kind of find funny that the pitchers were putting goop on the baseball after all these years of possibly a lot of players juicing. But yeah, you just have to learn how to play different styles. And there's a lot of people who love dead ball. You have Beatles Eternally, Bleacher Bums Gaming, and many, many more. I'm not very familiar with it. I like the 2070 Yankees, the 19, and that's not dead ball, the 2070 Yankees. But, the 1919 White Sox would still be considered dead ball. And any Ty Cobb, those are fun play, teams with Ty Cobb and stuff. So it's fun to learn about the different styles, and especially people play these games and you're actually getting like a little history lesson because maybe you sit there and go, I want to know more about this person. And I think a lot of people, I can't remember if it was Beatles who mentioned it or a couple other, it could have been Tony Porter, or I know Tony's mentioned it, where you're playing the games and you want to say, I want to know a little bit more than just this, you go look up some stats and maybe a little summary. But it's I think these games help us remember, learn, and enjoyment. That's the most out of the, you want to get. And we all have our inner announcers where we're talking to ourselves or out loud calling the game. So
Sure.
But quick question. These are fun sets. And I know they were sold out before. Maybe they're back in stock. These this is a really, the Legends of Baseball card set is a fun set. Now, that's this is where Pine Tar put together just great players on like 15-man rosters, 18-man. I mean, you can see it here. A lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun with these. If you're looking just to have, these are like the ultimate all-star teams. So this is another fun set.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, I've got a really, really, really old set of videos on my channel where I use those in a best of 9.
Yep.
The World Series, like the World Series used to be, best of 9, and it was a lot of fun. And it's their career numbers, career cards, but the biggest names are all in there, and including Negro League stars.
Yep.
And they're great, and they're on poker card stock. So
yeah, beautiful. But this is, again, they're all good sets. Then you have the championship sets. 1924, 1946, 1960, and 2016. I also picked up, it came on the 79. Well, that came with it, I'm sorry. But these are the World Series sets. And if I click on this, these are really nice. Again, they're different. Like you said, they're like poker cards.
Right.
But these are fun sets.
Yeah, they really are. A lot of people pick those up to kind of dip their foot in the pool and see what Pine Tar's like. And that's the start of a hopeless addiction that leads to a 12-step program. No, I'm kidding. It's
he's telling the truth. I'm in the 12-step program.
Yeah.
I'm not doing well, though. I continue to buy. And I'm happy about buying Pine Tar baseball.
Yeah.
So
good stuff.
Now, again, tell us, Kurt, the ones that are available through you.
Okay.
Via email.
So, if you're interested in the Negro League Franchise All-Star set or the 1972 season set or the Great Teams of the 20th Century Volume 1 or the Great Teams of the 20th Century Volume 2, those are all available right now through me. And you can contact me at bergland.kurt@yahoo.com, and we can set up what you want and how to pay and all that good stuff. If you are interested in the Great Teams of the 20th Century Volume 2, it releases tomorrow, Thursday, the 15th of July, 2021. And I will be sending out the PDFs later in the day, and I will be shipping the cards via UPS, which is the only thing I use is UPS, sometime tomorrow morning, if I received your PayPal payment.
And also, you have a bundle for the 1 and 2, the Great Teams.
So if you want the cards for Great Teams of the 20th Century, and you want them for both Volume 1 and Volume 2, it's $105 shipped, which saves you about $13, $14. No, about $9, $10.
And again, if PDF, $36.
Right, 26.
26. Sorry, 26.
Yeah.
Sorry, 26.
So
Sorry.
$12.99
Yeah, my
each
fault.
for the PDFs, and that would be 45 teams plus 2 all-star teams of Rookies of the Year.
For $26.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong. Fun teams. Kurt, thank you very much. I kept you much longer
friend.
probably than you wanted to be here.
Appreciate it very much.
Any final questions for our good friend Kurt Bergland? As they're talking, you get these dead ball guys around, and my God, they'll talk dead ball forever. That's fine, though. It's baseball.
That's right.
So we'll give it a moment, Kurt. Again, fun set. Let me quickly read through them as I move my Tony C book.
Okay, so I got to ask you now before I go. It's the bottom of the 11th, and Rick Burleson leads off with a triple. You got Fred Lynn coming up. Then it's Jim Rice. Then it's Carl Yastrzemski.
I hope someone knocks him in.
There's nobody out. Are you walking the bases loaded to get to Yastrzemski?
No.
You're pitching to Lynn, or are you pitching to Rice? Burleson's on third. Nobody's out. Burleson's on third.
What's the score?
It's tied. It's the bottom of the 11th.
That'd be gutsy to walk the bases loaded and hope to God that Yastrzemski's no slouch in 78.
Fred Lynn is up now.
Yep.
Jim Rice is
what year? 78?
Yeah. Fred Lynn's up now.
Well, I'm gonna hope that Zimmer brings up Bob Bailey to pinch hit.
I didn't know what to do. I almost called you, but I pitched to Lynn. I didn't walk the bases loaded.
I know. I listened to the game. But
I
can't walk the bases loaded.
I thought I was doing the wrong
you can. World's Worst Gamer says walk the bases loaded.
I don't know. To get to Carl Yastrzemski, a freaking legend.
Tony Porter, C&D TV. I will walk the bases loaded for a force at home. So anyway, but that's the fun of playing this game.
That's right.
You can make these decisions.
That's right.
So here we go.
Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you. We have, let's see if okay. So if you want any of the sets, Great Teams 1, but Great Teams 2 just coming out, it's PayPal. As he moved it away, I didn't read it fast enough. I read slow, Kurt.
That's okay.
Bergland.kurt@yahoo.com. PDFs $12.99. Cards shipped $59.99. And that includes shipping. That's the whole cost there.
That's the whole thing.
So bergland.kurt@yahoo.com. Again, I provided that information in the chat and on the page. Well, 1904 Giants, 1907 Cubs, 1909 Tigers, 1916 Red Sox, 1919 White Sox, 1925 Pirates, who are the most dysfunctional team, I guess, in history, but won. 1934 Cardinals, the Gas House Gang, 1935 Tigers with Greenberg, Hank Greenberg, 1948 Indians, 1950 Phillies, the Whiz Kids, the 1953 Yankees. Would you say that's Mantle's coming out party?
I would say it was. Yeah, you betcha.
1957 Braves, Hammer and Hank Aaron. 1961 Reds, Frank Robinson. 1962 Giants, Mays, Cepeda, McCovey, Marichal, Alou, and many, many others. 1968 Cardinals, this set alone, this one card, you got to get PDF at least. This Bob Gibson card is insane, 1968. Now let's think about this, people, before we leave. What was his earned run average, Kurt? I know what it was, but what was it? Tell the audience.
1.12.
1.12. And see, my dyslexia at work said 1.21 because I flipped things. And how many games did he lose with a 1.12?
9.
9. He lost 9 games, giving up less than 2 runs a game. How putrid was the Cardinals' offense? That's all we'll say. But the card alone is amazing. It's A+, A+ for a really long time, and that is fun. 1972 A's World Series winners: Reggie Jackson, Sal Bando, Joe Rudy, Gene Tennis, and many Vida Blue, Catfish Hunter. Kenny Holtzman, I believe, is on. Is he on that?
You
yep,
betcha.
so he's on that 72. 1976 Reds, the Big Red Machine, Bench, Rose, Griffey, Morgan, Perez, Foster, Concepcion, Geronimo. 77, Billy Martin's one World Series team. Actually, yeah, that is his only World Series winning team. Jackson's first year in New York, Munson, Chambliss, Nettles, White, I can't even say his name. Let's just say that name. Randolph, so on and so forth. The 78 Red Sox, who won the World Series. No. Fun team. Eckersley wins 20. Burleson, Lynn, Rice, Yastrzemski, Fisk, Evans, Scott, Hobson, Remy, and Bob Bailey. 1981 Athletics, Billy Ball. This is going to be another fun team I look forward to playing. At the time, to me and many other people, thought the best outfield in baseball: Murphy in center, Henderson in left, Tony Armas in right, and a hell of a starting pitching staff. 1988 Dodgers with the Bulldog, right? That's what he was named, Orel Hershiser. Sure. He had the shutout streak, which has since been broken, I believe. I think it's been broken, the shutout, or tied.
I don't know.
No. Sure. But again, Kirk Gibson, walk-off homer. Yep. Lots of fun in Game 1 of the World Series. The 1993 Blue Jays, a great team from north of the border. Ricky Henderson, White in center field, Alomar at second, Carter in right, Olerud at first, Molitor the DH, Fernandez an excellent shortstop, Ed Sprague at third.
Ed Sprague, yeah, junior,
because his father played, and actually Borders was not a bad catcher. I forgot.
No,
about
he
him.
wasn't. No.
And then this is another really, 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 really fun team. 1995 Mariners. Another one of my favorite managers of all time. You're going to say, but Al, Red Sox fan, he's Lou Piniella. Yes, he's Lou Piniella. You know what made Lou Piniella great was he was Billy Martin minor, okay? And I'll never forget, I've told this story. Managing Tampa Bay, he didn't care anymore. Unshaven, sitting there in the dugout. He goes out to get the kid who's absolutely horrific. I forgot who was the pitcher. And the kid back talks him, this young rookie pitcher. And he went, really? Now, this is the same guy who got into a fight with his good Reds pitchers, right, in Cincinnati, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I was waiting for him to haul off and hit the kid, right? No, fine, okay. I'm a little older now. I still think I can take you with a gut shot, and maybe a knee to the groin. But they go up. Now, I remember this on ESPN. Now the kid pitches again, and this was like must see because you knew something horrible was going to happen. So I remember watching ESPN Sports, and they go, "You're going to want to see this." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." This is the second time after the incident, right?
Yeah.
The kids. I wish I could remember the pitcher's name. I don't remember the pitcher's name. He is getting shelled, right? And now Lou Pinella's sitting there again, unshaven, with the pullover thing, and he's sitting there, hat on. He's sitting there on. And the pitching coach comes over, or not the pitching coach, but that could have been the pitching coach or one of the coaches. Do you want me to go? You could read the lips. You want me to go talk to him? No. And, they're getting killed, right? You don't care. Now there's a few more runs, and the ESPN announcers are getting really funny, and they're going, the Sports Center guys, and they go to the dugout, the local, they keep panning to the dugout. And again, you can see the coach, must be the pitching coach going over. You want me to go out there? No. Just let me get racked, right? Now he goes, you want me to get someone up in the pen? Finally, he goes, yeah, get someone up in the pen. And he lets him get racked some more. And then he goes, you want me to take him out? No. And then finally they go, we're going to take him out. You're going to go out there? No, you go take him out. Right? And he goes, and then there's like this huge heated discussion. Pinella's like, hey, that's the way you learn. You want to be a wise ass? I'll keep you out there. You remember last time? You're good to go.
Yeah.
Stay out there and get your ass kicked. Anyway, Lou Piniella, Coleman in left, Cora at second, Griffey in center, Edgar Martinez, they really had a good offensive team. Edgar Martinez, the DH, Tino Martinez prior to the Yankees at first. Jay Buhner, again, one of the funniest skits on Seinfeld. If you're not familiar with it, look it up on YouTube. When the back of the head, because you never saw who played Steinbrenner. And he goes over to George Costanza's the parents' house. They're telling him George's dead. George wasn't dead. He just was skipping out of work, and they thought he died. And he goes, and the father goes, Mr. Costanza, he goes, George is dead. And the father's just sitting there going, how could you trade Jay Buhner? Blowers at third, Wilson catching, and Soho the shortstop. Really fun set. And here's the other unique thing. You get two more teams. Rookie of the Year All-Star sets. They are. They're not basically. They are. Here they are. American League pitchers. Fidrich, Score, Peters, Righetti, Verlander, Bird, Street, Sasaki, Bailey, Olsen, and Ohtani. Position players. Fisk, Munson, Alomar, McGuire, Murray, Carew, Whitaker, Hinsky, Longoria, Jeter, Garciaparra, Griffin, Kubek, Ichiro, Oliva, Go Joe Charbonneau, which they have a song you can find on YouTube. I remember the song. Trout, Lynn, Kittle, and Tresh. National League Rookies of the Year, All-Star team, we'll call it. Phenomenal. This is phenomenal. Great research by Kurt Bergland. Pitchers, DeGrom, Gooden, Valenzuela, Seaver, Black, Worrell, Williamson, Howe, Matlack, Wood, Kimbrell. Position players, bench, Santiago, Piazza, Posey, McCovey, Robinson. That's Jackie Robinson. Bellinger, Rose, Gilliam, Horner, Richie Allen, Furcal, Alvin Dark, Bryce Harper, not one of my favorite players. Strawberry, Mays, Billy Williams, Frank Robinson, Vince Coleman. How can you go wrong? Again, you might go, well, $59.99. Okay, fine, whatever. It's still, even at that, the cards are really on nice card stock. The PDFs are $12.99. You can get Great Team Set 1 and 2, $26. And I work with numbers, and I foobarred that the first time. $26 PDF. Print them at your leisure. Print them right away. What's wrong with you people? Anyway, phenomenal set. Glenn, how you doing?
Thank you.
So, final words, Kurt Bergland.
Thank you, Al, very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Kurt.
it. Enjoyed it a lot.
It's so much fun to have you on. We will be doing a chat with Al Friday night. I'm going to line up some people. And it will be after Dave Little's basketball game. So it's going to be a later chat with Al. We'll do our usual jocularity where Al pisses off people and loses subscribers because not you guys, other people who've just sort of subscribed, don't have a sense of humor. I'm kidding. Everyone has. I love the community. Again, I've said it before. I'll say it again. This is such a fun community. And hats off to people like Kurt Bergland, Anthony from Bleacher Bums Gaming, Terry Bates, Mike in the Truck, a.k.a. Super Bowl Tournament. They are again, Pine Tar Baseball, independent kind of sports sim company, gaming company. Glory Days Boxing, independent sports gaming company. Pro Strategy Football, independent sports games, and they're all accessible, especially our good friend Kurt Bergland. I'd love to have James on if he'd be up to it. I don't know if it's his thing to do this. I was going to ask you, would he like to come on? I'd love to have James on.
I will talk to him.
I'm harmless.
Yes.
I'm friend to one and all. Unless you're a communist.
Unless
you're a communist.
Of course. Goes without saying.
Come on.
All
anyway.
Right. Well, thank you very much.
So much fun.
Great.
Thank you, everyone. Greatly appreciate your time. Pine Tar Baseball. Information in the chat on the page. Till next time, be safe, be smart, treat people the way you want to be treated. God bless. You know what's coming, folks. Peace. Love you all.